Why don't you guys just get a little bit closer?
All right.
Ew. It was almost as though we were young and we fell in love, and then we had lots of friends that we wanted to share that with. And so we were motivated to get people to come out and volunteer, and it really did grow exponentially.
What Compass is doing is it's really creating a big tent family here where we can take care of our family. And we can replicate this model in other places, small communities nearby, so they can take care of their families.
Regardless of whether or not they ever come into the community center, they'll benefit that there's an active, vibrant community here in Palm Beach County.
I went to elementary school where my grandmother taught me first grade. My other grandmother taught me sex education in 7th grade. There's not a lot of things you can ask your grandma in sex education class, you know?
We went downstairs to let our dog out, and there was a letter saying confidential on it, and it was from the health department. And the only reason that they would actually leave a letter underneath my door saying we need you to come in is if I'm HIV positive.
My name on my driver's license is still male. Needless to say, if I have to show it to anybody, it's like, It's like obviously me, but the name really doesn't fit. So I am going to get that changed as soon as I can.
When I heard those words, that was as powerful as hearing the N-word. The reverberations, the reverb, the shock, the emotion, it was probably 3 days before I recovered.
My father, he passed away when I was 11 years old, just a month before I found out about my cancer. And I unfortunately was not able to come out to him. I hope in some way that he knew, and I believe in my heart that he would have been okay with it.
I had witnessed a student spill his lunch, and I went up to him and said, well, you need to go and pick that up. And he stood over me and said, no. As a teacher, this was within 2 months of first starting there, that if I did not place myself in a position of authority and hold that space at a middle school, I was not going to have a teaching career at all once the word got out. I had to threaten him with detention or something more severe. And he finally turned to go and get a broom and a trash can to clean things up, and as he made his way back, I stood near enough that I could hear him talk to his peers, and he whispered it to them. I didn't know if I was supposed to back down from the faggot ballet teacher or not. And it felt as though what he said reverberated through me just as the N-word would, and had, as I've had that experience as well. I was reliving all of that just with a different name. It was completely stunning and shocking.
And I think that we talk about tolerance and we talk about acceptance, but we don't talk about being respected. And at the end of the day, I think the best thing that we can do, not only at home, not only with our kids, not only with the people that we interact with across the country, is learn to find ways to be respected in our communities. And that particular piece is so human. It's so much more direct than, you know, saying yes or no to a marriage amendment. It's so much more impactful to be at Thanksgiving dinner or at Christmas dinner and to have your friends and to be able to talk openly about who you went on vacation with and you know, what it is that your friends are doing and how that they helped to move their community forward, or to even be able to boast about how much respect somebody in your community or in your sphere of friends has actually encouraged in a process that we actually thought we were pretty much locked out of.
If I were to back down or be forced to back down from that space and from that action, then I would have been modeling behavior that would not have been something I would have wanted students to have seen, especially if they themselves were questioning any part of their own identity. If they weren't safe, they weren't going to be learning. I realized that I really wanted to be teaching. And this was an extension. Even though it wasn't the subject matter I wanted to teach, I was still teaching. And probably a larger classroom than I would have been if I just stayed in the studio. So one of the organizations I went to first was Compass. And so Compass became this fabulous place where we could all meet and discuss what plan of action we should have in making this county a safe space for in the schoolyard. The more we were doing, the more visible we were, the more successful our programs were, the more people who came in and then came out realizing their full worth and value, then the more successful we were going to be.
Clarence has been involved with Compass in one way or another since pretty much the beginning, since I was first here. He was actually the chair of the board for several years, and he's not only a teacher and a dance instructor, but now he's a professor at Florida Atlantic University.
Do you know whatever happened to that kid from way back, that with the lunch tray?
And I met this person years later, and he had no recollection of ever having said or done anything along that line. I mean, he claimed me as one of his, models and protege. It was just like, okay, that's absolutely astounding. So I'm sure he has no recollection of what he did or of how he spurred me on to do the work that I did.
Is there a moment in this video to ask people to give a donation to Compass? Yeah, absolutely.
Part of the reason that people give to Compass is because through the years, and I hope I say this modestly, there has been a healthy return on investment.
There's just so much there that they do for everybody, and they don't ask for anything in return except for donations, which they need to actually sit there and survive.
I give money to Compass, and they need it.
I can't think of anyone in this community that cannot benefit from Compass. And if you donate or if you contribute to Compass, you're going to be contributing to this community.
Just trying to identify my own reason why I continually volunteer for Compass is
He doesn't have a choice.
well, that's the point. I mean, I don't think that people see it as a contribution. It's just, this is what you got to do if you want to have a certain community in Palm Beach County.
Yeah, American Express, get some points.